Any place has a specialness to it, a building or some people, the landscape, the smell, or the feel it gives off. It feels distant or warm, loving or cold. Shady Oaks has the feel of time to it. It is an old place. I feel drawn to locations with a history because they make me feel more rooted. When I look at the photo of the barn on the street as it was in 1931, it gives me a sense of recent history. We lose so much so fast, and it is a pleasure to see even a bit of the past saved. That is what I feel I am accomplishing with my work here. The cows are certainly engaging beasts, but the people and the structures act as historical witnesses too, as we see them in life and as we view them in the photographs. Since our first piece on Shady Oaks, I have gotten to know most of the people who work there better. I have become more comfortable with the cows, and the other day Buddy told me to pull the metal bars that situate the cow in its eating spot. One cow got spooked and moved away from me. He had to yell it back to its spot. I upset her, I guess. I was safe in the outer aisle, but Buddy did his energetic best to move the big babe back into position, exposing himself directly in the line of the cow's movement. This is our second program. It is an example of long TV, slow TV. It beats the soundbite stuff on commercial TV that is forgotten as soon as it is seen. We will return in warmer weather to take a look at the haying operation. It hardly seems possible the warm weather will ever come again. The other day, Jeff and I were looking at flowers in bloom in Dover in a piece we did riding around town in the first flush of spring. The piece, called Please Come Spring, was about why spring came late on us after some pretty strong late winter snowstorms. Anyway, we looked at the flowers and stuff and were amazed considering how barren the outside looks now. I met some real TV persons the other day and felt sorry for them. They were on such a tight schedule they could barely breathe or stop for a hamburger. They did a segment on Dover. The fellow with Mary on the TV, Tom Maroney, was wonderfully witty and droll. But the show ran so fast on the air, seemed like a minute, and then it was time for a commercial. A real shame because he and Mary Richardson were so wonderful as they strolled down the path near the library where the Williams Tavern had once stood for 100 years. The speed of light is what we live at, and regular TV is about as silly as the way we live. So fast and furious, with not the time to take a breath and look at our past, even that of a few years ago. The barn is not heated. The cows heat it. I was there a cold day, and they came home early, around 2-ish. The place heated up fast. They were so funny. They really wanted to get home, to eat as much of the feed as they could scoff, as fast as they could. It is so like any being which eats to put off the pains of cold and the unrelenting winter on us. We talked about magical experiences, Marshall and I, one day recently when I went out for milk. He said it was around 8:30 at night in the barn, and it was so peaceful and quiet. He was transported, so to speak, moved by the deep quiet of the scene he was in. We didn't say much, he and I, because customers kept coming in for milk, and we were interrupted. I told him about coming into Medfield Center that day, headed for Medway, and seeing an orange sky and the outline of the church steeple next to Lord's department store, and how moved I was at the silhouette of the steeple against this vibrant, vaguely menacing orange sky, dotted with dark clouds, but alight with a deep color that I call now orange, but was really something organic, moving with colors of red and yellow and black and what all. Not the orange of an orange, but an organic color that was moving about the sky as I admired the steeple of the church. The background of the sky churned, the colors mixed, and Lord's department store sold presents to put under the Christmas tree. Anyway, Marshall and I told miracle stories, and it occurred to me that he might write it down so that we can put it on TV, as it deserves to be put on TV. The point is that the farm is a place of miracles. Farms have always been thus, places where nature and man and woman and wagons and trucks get together to replicate ancient rites that are deep inside rural people's minds, and even those of folks like me who never were close to a cow before. So I was pleased to hear Marshall talk about his moment of enlightenment in the barn that night, and I hope he will tell the story on DCTV. It had to do with the deepness of human life, of its incredible calm when we are lucky enough to sense it. Those of us who work outside a lot or with animals and trees and plants a lot are prone to some funny sensations. I think that is what Marshall and I were sharing. I would like to make a few comments on the interview with Bud, or Buddy, one which we shall see shortly. He has experience. It shows on him. He has time to be, to think, to recall, to tell, to teach, to think. He is to me what a human should be, not some fool rushing around trying to make a lot of money to buy things he and his loved ones would be better off without. I take time to hear him speak. It is special speech, not often recorded on TV. TV is for national figures, politicians, and talk show hostesses and hosts, and guests who have done important or outrageous things. Buddy is none of this. He is a human as I imagine one to be when whole, just doing his life, his work, his job. He has the walking dignity of a person who knows where he is. He is not alienated, trying to find himself with some new psychology or religion. He is grounded, and one feels honored to talk to him, to let him say some of his life so we can learn from him, his friends, and his neighbors. Knowledge is where you find it, and Buddy's got it. Knowledge that's as valuable as what comes from a book or from the evening TV. More valuable, I think. Shady Oaks finds Bob Briggs rushing about doing what he does. He does everything. I have seen him cold, sick, and feverish doing the work. He has joked a lot. He does that when he can't keep up and seems to be falling a bit. I mean, what else can you do when you're falling a bit and can't stop it? That's what I do, too. He just keeps on trucking, so to speak, and one has to really admire him. And the milk keeps flowing, and someone or some many have to do the work. You really don't get a day off. Bob doesn't. His greatest thrill is to have a bit of time off to sleep. I don't know how he feels. How could I? It is just like me imagining a guy with a workforce of 25 that he has to care for and worry over. The guy up at Waverly Tool, a company in Framingham, his name is Bill, was giving me a sense of what he does. And it is an awesome thing trying to keep a business going. He has run his business forever since he was young. Like Bob Briggs does, or Bill up at Waverly Tool, or my friend George at the Shell Station. I can't imagine, but it seems you go from one difficult day to another, one crisis to the next. The weather is always a challenge. Making money is tough at any job or in any little company. They have got to have courage or be just kind of foolhardy. And then they die just like the rest of us. Of course, I take the time to do videos and write about people like Bob, but my work is pleasure, not real work. And I do feel guilty to have it so much easier than Bob, but what am I supposed to do? Work and worry like him or Bill or George? No way. These are some of my thoughts as we complete Shady Oaks 2, called The Milk, in early 1994. I look at the photo of Dad, 1930, which I will show you. Solid feet under a large body. No nonsense. Necktie, hat. He's dressed up for the day. I see in him some of Bob's no-nonsense, no frills, no time to waste on small talk approach to life. I had called for old photos in the first video we did, and here they are, appeared from the void. I am so pleased to be able to bring them to the viewer as they add the depth of experience and time to our work in this, the second video. I asked and I got. I am so grateful. We are fleshing out a story of a business, a family, a time in life in the latter part of this century that engrosses and enchants us. A time of the greatest films, music, migration, upheaval, technology. This is a time when men and women like Bob and Nancy Briggs do what family heads do everywhere. Work, work, and work some more to meet another day with more work. Why, I wonder? I guess it is habit to work a lot. In my generation, Buddy's or Nancy Briggs's, if you didn't work hard, you felt bad. And more than that, the people around you were made to feel bad because directly or indirectly they had been let down by you. So you never let it happen to let down someone around you so they would suffer even a bit. It just didn't happen. We just work and trust in getting through. The weather, the finances, the illness, the unemployment, the collapse of the car and the body, the advertising onslaught on TV, the terrible play of the Celtics, the potholes in the road, the day-old bread on sale at the market, the generic drugs that don't really relieve our pain, the traffic on the highway. 'Tis a time for looking back, January 1994. I can't believe this stuff is on my mind. I just want to say that Shady Oaks is special, that Bob is quite a person, that Buddy sure talks in a wonderful way, that Jeff Hooper did a wonderful job doing the shooting of this footage, that in my usual confused way, I have pulled together a portrait of the place, Shady Oaks, one that I value. It may not be perfect Hollywood-wise, but it comes direct from my heart. I put on the screen not what I think, but how I feel, and this film comes close. Seems to me there's a black dog there. When I was here a couple of days ago, a cow sort of lined up down there and ran like hell right down the path here. That's kind of dangerous, isn't it, for the cows?
Well, I suppose, but they don't think too much about that when they want something to eat.
I think that's what it was. I think that particular cow just galloped down the aisle here to get something to eat. How do you find working with cows? Are they unpredictable? Are they easy to work with?
Some of them are easy to work with, some of them aren't, and just when you think you've got them all figured out, they change.
They surprise you a little bit. They have each cow has a kind of different temperament and style.
Right.
And do you ever confuse one cow with another, or do you just know them?
Oh, once in a great while you get a couple that look a lot alike. You might be confused when they're coming in, a lot of them at a time, but as soon as you go to milk them, you know you've got the wrong one in the
wrong place.
In the wrong place.
You do know?
Yes.
You told me a cow story about this cow that when you're out in the pasture and she's coming by you, she'll nuzzle you and put her head on your shoulder.
Yeah, we used to have one. That was quite a few years ago.
Was it?
We used to pasture the cows down across Adams Street. And at noontime, I used to stop on my way back from lunch and bring them back across so that they would be up here when it was time to come in.
Sure.
And she used to come by and put her head against my shoulder to have her ears scratched, and then she'd go on her way.
Very funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the other day when I was here, there was a cow born in the pasture.
Right.
And you showed her to me, the cow, when I was here the other day. And apparently the mother came into the stalls here because she was hungry and sort of left the cow out there, and another one took up the slack.
That's right, yeah.
Is that unusual?
Well, we have one cow that seems to think that every calf born is hers.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but...
Funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
One of the things that we found in the video was that it's kind of a warm place here. Do you find that people that work with animals have a kind of different sense of the world than some other people? Working with nature, working with animals, the place has a real friendly aspect to it. It's amazing, actually.
Well, I think that the first thing you have to think about is that they're animals and they're in your care, and they are your livelihood. So you have to sort of balance things off, because if you get too close to them, of course, you can't from a business sense, keep an animal that is not paying her way.
Sure.
But at the same time, you have to think about the fact that they are your livelihood, and they are dependent on you for everything, for their food, for their cleanliness, for their health. Everything about them is...
You're a caregiver, in other words.
Yeah.
And you have to develop a sense of closeness with them.
I think so. Some people don't, but...
Just it's a job.
Yeah.
But not for the people here. At least it seems that way to me, that people here have a genuine interest in what they're doing and a deep feeling about it.
Yeah, you do.
And this place changes a lot in the seasons. Can you talk a little bit about the difference between summer and fall and winter here? The schedule changes, I guess, doesn't it?
A little bit, yeah. The days, of course, in the wintertime are shorter, and the weather is much colder. Now, we try to get the animals out every day, but some days it's just too cold, or it's too icy, or the snow's too deep, and they have to stay in.
The whole day?
The whole day. The other thing we have to think about, of course, too, is the barn. If it's too cold and the cows are out, that's the only heat there is in here, and the water can freeze.
Is that so? The heat is the heat from the cows?
That's right. The only heat that's in here is from the cows.
So they sort of provide their own heating system in that sense?
Cow's temperature is 101, normal. And when you think of the mass of the animal that weighs anywhere from 900 to 1,800 pounds, there's a lot of heat generated.
years that you've been doing this. I gather you've been doing this for something like 30 years?
This is my 30th year with the Briggs family, yeah.
The Briggs family. Yeah. You've seen a lot of change.
Oh, yes.
And how has it been for you? I mean, has it been easy to adjust in terms of the change of, you know, going from one boss to another as Bob took over, in terms of the changes in the technology, the machinery? It's a lot easier now in the sense that there's less physical work because you have conveyor and all. How do you describe some of the changes?
Well, some things certainly are a lot easier. As I said this morning when the barn cleaner was running, that I remember when we used to have to shovel this out by hand. And as a matter of fact, I remember one blizzard that we had back in the 40s when another fellow and I had to shovel a path from the back door out into the field and shovel out a big area and then wheel the manure out in a wheelbarrow.
Wow.
So by the time we get finished, it was time to milk again.
Oh, that was a tough day.
And Bob's father had a bulldozer come in and bulldoze out a place behind the sheds here. And the next day we were able to get the truck in here and shovel it into the truck and take it out that way. So
Wow.
that was certainly easier. The barn cleaner has made a big difference. Of course, like anything mechanical, once in a while it breaks down.
It breaks down.
And that makes it a little difficult. But
Sure.
all in all, it does work easier. And then, of course, as far as the milking is concerned, we used to milk in pails. And the cows were all stripped out afterwards by hand. And all the milk had to be carried into the milk room and in pails and dumped into strainers. Now we don't carry any anymore.
No, you have an automated
Pipeline does
system.
it all. My wife and I have had a large family, and we always believed that the youngsters should have all the milk they wanted for strong bones and good teeth, and they've all done pretty well with that.
The milk hasn't let you down, so to speak.
No, at one time we were using about 12 quarts of milk a day.
Oh,
So.
my goodness. It's not that you're providing a product that is not particularly useful or important. You're providing a product that has a life-giving force.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's what I'm trying to say, that what you're doing here is really quite serious business. It's providing a very important service to the community. And I think that's important. I see Tasha's here again. She never seems to be very far away from us. She was important in the last video we did too, because she turned out to be one of the stars. What was it like when you first came here 30 years ago? Reggie was here then, Bob's father. I guess Shirley Coakley's father was delivering around that time.
That's right.
Mr. Coakley. I haven't had the opportunity to see a picture of him, but Shirley has talked about him. It must have been different. Very different.
It was.
Of course, the times were different.
That's true. We had a much bigger crew. We did a lot.
More cows?
About the same number of cows as we have now, although the barn was kept full of milking cows. There were 2 trucks peddling milk, so.
Are they dangerous?
A cow with horns can be. Not because they want to be, but just fact of the matter that they have these 2 things sticking out of their head and they're pretty sharp.
Right. I thought if one sat on you or if one butted you or kicked you, it would hurt a lot.
It does. It does. We have one that can butt pretty hard. Marshall's experienced that when she got him up against a door casing one day.
It happened, huh? Do you remember that, Marshall?
Oh, yeah. And she
just capped that day.
She just kept going at him. And finally had to drive her away from him.
Wow.
And, you know, once in a while you get one that kicks pretty hard. I've been kicked hard enough so I had to be carried out of the barn.
Serious?
Serious.
Wow. You just stood in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, she was a new cow that came in, and she was against the wall under the barn there, and apparently was afraid of the milking machine. And the old fellow that milked her had put the machine on and taken some milk into the milk room. That was when we were still milking with pails. And she knocked the machine off, and I went in there to pick it up. And boy, I never even saw her foot coming.
Just that quick?
Yeah.
She let you have it?
Yeah. She actually kicked me under 3 or 4 other cows.
Oh my God.
That's how hard she kicked me.
Wow. Well,
But she didn't stay. Mr. Briggs came in just as I was being carried out, and he went right to the telephone and said, "You get that cow out of here."
And that cow was gone?
That cow was gone the next morning, yeah.
That's funny. I was saying that people here talk to the animals, and you were telling me about this animal psychiatrist, that there's actually such a thing, and it seems like we're always talking to animals. If I talk to my cats, when I had dogs, I talked to dogs. There's a kind of relationship between animals and people, isn't there?
Yes.
And they do think. They do have
Oh, I'm sure.
feelings. And it's pretty amazing. You don't think of animals being smart somehow, but if you think about the life and the way a crow works, you know a crow is smart. You know squirrels are smart. You know dogs and cats are damn smart. And it seems to me that cows have a kind of intelligence.
They do. They do. And the horse people are the people that measure. Horses are supposed to be pretty smart, but they come in here and stand and watch these cows come in and go into their own stall, and they say you can't get a horse to do that.
Isn't that something?
So
But a cow can.
cow can, yeah.
Yeah. And there's a tremendous amount of popular interest in cows. Every time I show the Shady Oaks video, people just love it, especially kids. But adults too. What is there about cows that seems to grab people's interest? In your mind? I have my own theories, but I'd like to hear some of yours.
Well, first of all, I think that an awful lot of people don't have any idea what a cow is for. You say to them, where does your milk come from? It comes from the supermarket.
It comes from Shaw's.
Yeah.
That's right. It comes from a
And
bottle.
they don't realize that it comes from an animal.
No.
So that's the first thing. Second of all, the size of the animal.
Yes.
And yet it's gentle, that you can work with it. Some little kids are terrified of them, and I can understand that, because little kids only weigh, 30, 40 pounds, and they stand and look up at at a cow like this. And
Pretty big.
Yeah, it's pretty big. It's pretty big.
So the cow is big and it has a purpose.
Yeah.
It also seems to have a personality.
Oh, very definitely.
And I think people are drawn to that personality. My own opinion is that it calms them somehow.
Could be.
You see a cow in a pasture, a bunch of cows in a pasture, and you have a kind of peaceful feeling. I get that sense about cows, that there's something peaceful about them.
Yeah.
Do you have that feeling?
Oh,
working
yeah,
with them?
sure. Yeah,
I
for the
think there's
most
a
part.
cow mystique, and I'm always trying to figure out why so many people just love to look at cows on video, loves to see them in person. And there's always something about that cow that grabs people. It's not like any other animal. I mean, it's not like a horse or a dog. It's something else.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, they move, for the most part, they move very slowly, and, they get their stomachs full, and then they lay down and start chewing their cud, and that certainly looks like tranquility.
It does look like tranquility. I have always been amazed at how citified I am. Milk really comes from cows, I keep saying to myself. Growing up in Jamaica Plain, a section of Boston, the closest I got to an animal was to see a pigeon on the sill outside of our third-floor window. So I wrote a poem about where milk comes from. I make believe, I make it up that it, like all good things, comes from Shaw's. That they pour milk from Shaw's into the complicit cow when they are asleep or not looking. Cows would never go for this. They are too tied to the truth, and frankly, it would not occur to them to have their precious selves used as receptacles. I am kidding in the poem. What worries me is that some youngsters might see this video. Maybe they would believe that milk comes from the supermarket, as does meat, pears, and parsley. It seems desirable to note they bring all this stuff to the supermarket from someplace else where people grow or produce the stuff, or at least process it, as is the case of milk. The poem Cows. Where they put the milk is hidden at the top of the cow. On the black and white ones, the opening is always on the black part. I don't know why. Near the back, where the tail is. The cow won't tell. How now, brown cow? The cow jumped over the moon. How come? Cow smiles, nods head sideways. A jocular presence attracted to joy and to mirth. On the reserved side, she won't tell. Someone knows where to pour the milk from Shaw's into the cow. She looks pretty, pretends to make milk. Deep in the night, a guilty truck pulls up. Comes an operator from Shaw's, pours milk in the cows. He moves off into the silent night. Milk comes from Shaw's, not from cows. Farmer puts it in glass bottles so it will taste better. The cow is a joking foreleg, a big kidder. On the mischievous side, the big babe is never rude. So listen to this. Milk from Shaw's is poured in the cows. They get a snack and they feel fine. To be a ton-weight ornament does not bother them. All that matters is to be beautiful. It is not a big thing. Actresses of such size find it easy to play the milk joke. There is, too, the moo-moo routine that reaches some high level of enthusiasm on occasion and sets off a loud chorus of noise. Please don't hold it against them. They merely get carried away into their role. Ever since Ben and Jerry put cow pictures on the side of the ice cream trucks, cows have become mildly insufferable. And Elsie the ancestor would surely cringe if subjected to the rampant egoism of today's generation. The babe is attracted to late-night TV and to snacks that come in little bags. Cows especially favor the exercise ads, itty bikes with fat people who before are this fat and later, 2 seconds or so, are this thin. They look unblinking for hours. They love the TV. The cow doesn't mind that they put milk in her. She won't tell. Farmer reaches down to the fingers below, and the white lightning pours out. Milk is good for you. It is good for the cow, too. She plays a vital role in the distribution of a vital resource. A large art form, she doubles as a dispenser of the milk of life. I truly hope the poem does not offend anyone or confuse one. Shortly we will begin Shady Oaks 3. We do need a bit of rest. Won't you tell us if you liked to? I don't think we could ever capture the innocence and beauty we picked up with our inexpensive camcorder in the first show. Tasha, the doggish creature, was immense. So much was unplanned and came out right by mistake. So it would have been hard to do the second show if I worried over how it would compare to the first. Well, I didn't worry, as I figured the current program would just be different from the first. I mean, how can you compare two good things or two good people? You can't, and I don't in my mind. The only thing I had to borrow was the super, though hokey music from the first show. I get a bit weepy when I hear it. Somehow it reminds me of olden days, sitting on the porch drinking lemonade my mother just brought me. Of course, that is all fantasy. I know no more about the country and its accompanying life than Madonna, Michael Jackson, or Mayors Koch or Dinkins. The next show should bring us more old photos. I am asking you to let us videotape pictures of Medway in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. I know we'll find them. It is so much fun to show both the new and the old together, the ones doing the life now and the ones who did it before. Why, the history just intrudes and gives depth and added meaning to our Walmarted lives. I can see the barn now with Tasha sitting in the front, and I can see it in a 1930 photo. It is just grand for me to see how a thing changes, how it survives, just like an idea does, or a country, or a family, or a road, or whatever. I see the cars. They seem as important as cows and as barns, and they are. We are a people positively in love with the moving, snarling, temperamental, quirky, smelly, enchanting thing we call the car and the truck. See the photo of the 1937 Ford. How proud the thing looks. How much work it saves for the farmer who peddles the milk. How it would be so hard if he had to get about town to sell milk in some other way. After all, the farmer must be adept at so many things, and his partner, the truck, accompanies him as he sells the milk he makes. The old pictures are sacred, special. We videotape them to last another 150 years, if anyone cares. We do care, and I hope you do. Until we meet again in your living room, we say goodbye. Have a happy winter, and we'll see you when the marigolds come up in the spring.